That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about The Mother. The seventh film directed by Niki Caro, which is premiering on Netflix May 12th, 2023, just in time for all mothers to enjoy for that weekend's Mother's Day.
You said second film?
Seventh.
Oh, wow. Do we know any of her other films?
Well, we reviewed her last film, which was the live-action adaptation of Mulan in 2020.
I saw Mulan?
Yeah, we watched the Disney cartoon in anticipation and then reviewed. Go back and look. We have a review.
No, I watched Mulan and the cartoon?
You did, and we have a recorded review out there in the world floating around.
Wow.
I still think Mrs. Caro, who's from New Zealand, her best film is her debut, which was Whale Rider. And subsequent films haven't quite lived up, although some things are elevated by pretty good performances, such as North Country or The Zookeeper's Wife, with Jessica Chastain, I think gives a pretty good performance that elevates a film that's shouldn't be in English. Anyhow, she's also done a Heavenly Vintage, which I saw originally was called The Vintner's Luck, which I really didn't like, and also McFarland USA.
Well, I'm sorry, ma'am. I could not stand this movie. And I know we're going to get nasty comments because it's J-Lo. And I'm not trying to be difficult because it's a J-Lo Netflix film, even though they have a history of having these big casts and these shitty-ass movies. But
it actually reminded me a lot of that Sandra Bullock Netflix film, The Unforgivable, which I also thought was equally just completely out of touch. I think we should drag the screenwriters a little bit. Andrea Berloff, who wrote Straight Outta Compton, white lady, and also directed a film that The Kitchen, which I've talked about before, which I think is interesting, but also not quite up to where it should be or could have been, and also written by Peter Craig and Misha Green, who has story credit. Misha Green was the writer of Lovecraft Country, so I think seeing her name, I was surprised at the end result of this, so I don't know if there were just too many cooks in the kitchen, but...
While fleeing from dangerous assailants, a former assassin comes out of hiding to protect the estranged daughter she left behind. This story it makes no damn sense, and it's too, I have so many notes that I don't even think I can get through them all. It's like,
It would make a great double feature with J-Lo's Enough, I thought. But sadly, this opens on the same day as her husband Ben Affleck's new film, and it reminded me, it's because it's about the same quality as a movie his ex-wife starred in called Peppermint, which I also really didn't like.
I had said, I think this feels like if the Lifetime Network tried to do a combination of Lord of War and Mamma Mia.
Yep, it is about that.
And then it would be this movie.
Could have used a little more of the Mamma Mia vibe, though, because this takes itself very seriously.
Okay, we need to get to it. So the basic story is J-Lo is a veteran who is like a bad seed. She says, like, well, I'm like the best sharpshooter there is, and once I leave the military, the best job I can get is to be a cashier at a retail store. Mm-hmm. Which is like, that's a big leap. Like, you're not even trying.
There are things to explore with that, but, you know.
So she decides to get in cahoots with two different men. Like a military person who was like her boss, played by Joseph Fiennes, who's like a bad guy, like a nefarious person.
Aiden Lovell.
And then Gael Garcia Bernal, who's like also like a bad guy.
Hector Álvarez.
So she gets involved with these two guys to like traffic weapons of war.
Mm-hmm. They're siphoning guns.
So she's a bad person.
Wow.
But then one day she's like, well, maybe I should see what they're up to. So she checks like some of their inventory, these cargo holds. And she opens one of them and sees that there's like weapons of war in them. But then she hears like some whimpering. So she opens up another cargo hold and sees that these people are trafficking children. So that's where she draws the line. And she decides to become an informant for the FBI. And
that's how we meet her in the first
So that's how we meet her. The opening scene is J-Lo's at a safe house
in Indiana
with two FBI agents, one of whom is Omari Hardwick.
Playing a guy named Bill Cruz, and the other one is Edie Falco, who's only in that scene.
So the opening scene goes down poorly because they're trying to question J-Lo and she's being hostile. Like, y'all don't know what you're talking about. Like, we're about to be attacked and you're sitting here asking me questions. And then, of course, they're attacked by Joseph Fiennes people.
As soon as she says, I'm not safe, he knows where I am, I'm like, okay.
7 agents get killed. Omari Hardwick gets shot in the chest. And J-Lo saves his life by squeezing super glue into his titty meat.
And then she makes a homemade bomb very quickly.
And this bomb burns Joseph Fiennes, and she thinks it kills him.
And he has also stabbed her pregnant tummy with a knife.
And J-Lo's very pregnant, and Joseph Fiennes stabs her in the belly. So we cut to her in the hospital. The baby's born. The baby's healthy and safe. But Edie Falco in her one scene is like, well, here's the deal. Yes, you were an informant. Yes, you were at a safe house. But since your resistance got 7 FBI agents killed, they're not interested in protecting you. So you're screwed. Good luck with that. But we're not monsters. We can help save your or protect your baby. But that means you need to give it up for adoption. And then we're going to take it somewhere. And then this lady, J-Lo, is real bold.
She strolls over to...
What is her name? We never even hear her name, do we?
She's the mother.
Yeah, we never hear her name, so I'm just going to call her J-Lo.
Well, she's credited as the mother.
J-Lo has the nerve to be like, well, so Omari Hardwick's in the hospital too because he was shot in the chest. And she tells him, well, I'll give up my baby under 3 conditions. She goes to a good home. You send me a picture of her every birthday. And if she ever needs me, you need to let me know.
Which he agrees to because now he owes her with his life.
So J-Lo moves to somewhere out in the woods in Alaska where she knows like a former veteran she was in the military with.
Played by Paul Raci of Sound of Metal.
So she's just out in these woods, and then we fast forward 12 years, and she's out in the woods living like a wilderness person.
Yep, she's shooting deer and rabbit and fishing.
Not communicating with anyone, just I guess training, staying in shape. And then one day she gets a letter from Omari talking about meet me on this cargo plane. We need to go to Cleveland or Ohio somewhere. She goes and he's like, well, Joseph Fiennes is not dead. He's just been burned up and he knows where your daughter is.
Because we intercepted some communique and there's a picture of this girl, Zoe.
So then we cut to J-Lo like sharpshooting like from a parking garage at like a park where her daughter's playing. Who's like 12 years old. Do 12-year-olds play at the park like that? That seemed real juvenile to me. But anyway, her 12-year-old daughter, who's now been adopted by this lovely family and has a very upper middle class life, is playing at this park. And then we see that bad guys have come to take the daughter.
And J-Lo is stationed at a parking garage with a direct overview of this park and fully pulls out...
She's a sniper. She is shooting. She kills people at this park, but she's not able to kill the guy who's played by that guy from...
Jesse Garcia, who is the lead of Eva Longoria's Flamin' Hot, which is coming out soon.
So then J-Lo is in this parking garage. She's killed a bunch of people, and then the bad guys somehow know she's up there. Don't know who told them she's in this parking garage. They get up there, and then there's kind of an okay scene where they're like chasing her and she's able to get away. Although there are some stupid parts.
She gets away to the alley and Omari Hardwick pulls right up.
And then Omari Hardwick's waiting there. And my immediate thought is like, why doesn't he have backup? How did he know? And then she asks him, why didn't you have a perimeter set up? That is so stupid to me. If they know that this bad guy who they want to capture is after this girl, why isn't the FBI there ready to like secure the perimeter? Right. And he's like, he doesn't have an answer to that.
He said we didn't know when they were going to strike.
So then he's like, well,
lazy.
We know that Gael is in Cuba. So then we cut to J-Lo and Omari Hardwick in Cuba. They immediately find the guy.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very, very quickly.
Like immediately.
Mm-hmm. Chase him down.
There's a horrible chase scene. And then he's like, well, Gael and the girl are... over here somewhere.
First, we see Jesse Garcia snort an enormous amount of scar.
Why do we need to see that?
I haven't seen somebody snort that much.
You've never seen a bump that big.
Not since Scarface. Like, why is he snorting that much?
So,
anyway,
she gets to where Gael is in his one scene, looking crazy as hell. He's wearing like a raggedy bob wig, and he's being very like flamboyant, sitting in a room full of candles. It was giving
Tony Braxton.
Tony Braxton.
Sitting here with candles lit.
Oh, God. I Heart You.
Yeah.
No, it was giving me that lady, that Santeria lady from Bad Boys 3.
Oh, my God.
He's sitting there doing this thing with his hands. Like, I don't know why they made him seem, like, kind of interesting, because J-Lo kills his ass immediately. She takes her daughter.
But he implies that he was also having very, like... provocative kind of sex, S&M sex.
I don't know why he needed to imply that he and J-Lo were having very kinky sex.
Because he's not sure if the girl is his daughter.
Then Omari takes J-Lo and her daughter back to the U.S. We don't know where, but when they get back there, Joseph immediately finds them, kills Omari, but J-Lo's able to abscond with her daughter.
Zoe.
She buys an old-ass pickup truck, like an 80s Ford pickup truck. And I don't know where they were in the United States, but she drives from wherever they are in this raggedy pickup truck back to Alaska.
And also, I don't know how she's been making money for the past 12 years. She's not in witness protection.
I have so many questions. They get back to Alaska, and then we get the sort of ubiquitous montage where she's teaching her daughter how to survive.
Yes.
Like how to become a sniper or a Navy SEAL in like 2 months.
Months do pass.
And then we're told months pass.
Because we watch Zoe interact with some wolf pups that grow.
The only way we knew that, up until someone tells us, is yes, she's playing with wolf puppies. And then all of a sudden the puppies are big. And of course Joseph Fiennes shows up. Looking like a villain from a Bond movie.
You gotta say how he shows up though.
A full-ass platoon. But he finds out where his daughter is because the daughter gets bit by one of those wolf puppies. Even though J-Lo told her ass to leave those wild animals alone, and takes her to a hospital, and this stupid girl gives the doctor and the nurse her real name, puts it into Kaiser or whatever, Blue Cross Blue Shield,
and immediately
a full platoon show up to this island port, and now the final act is Joseph Fiennes after J-Lo and the daughter. And of course, then I don't know why we went through this montage to show that the daughter has learned how to defend herself because she's not successful at fighting off the bad guys. It's J-Lo who ends up killing Joseph Fiennes in like hand-to-hand combat.
Although I did predict like, I bet they're going to do something with the daughter killing the dad.
Oh, it's so predictable.
Joseph Fiennes' face makeup drove me crazy with his scar tissue because he looked like Ray Liotta's brain at the end of Hannibal.
Well, it looked like the Halloween version of that character from the Bond movie, I think with Halle Berry, where he has diamonds in his face. It's an Asian villain. He has really cool like special effect makeup. Anyway, he looked crazy in this movie.
Well, he survives a house fire like Michael Myers, and then she tries to burn him again outside the vehicle. And you should flash a picture of Everett McGill in the film Iguana, directed by Monty Hellman, because that's what Joseph Fiennes was giving me. And remember, Ray Fiennes was her leading man in Made in Manhattan.
Rafe or Joseph?
Rafe, his brother.
Oh, so she's worked with both now.
She's worked with the Fiennes. You said he had brought a Bond villain, and that's what it feels like the vibe is, but it just feels derivative and boring.
Anyway, the film ends with J-Lo taking her daughter back to her parents in Ohio, and then the final scene, which made me think I was taking crazy pills, is we see the daughter like happily roller skating in the park, like downtown. And we see J-Lo in like a high-rise apartment looking down at her daughter from a very high space. And the daughter looks up at J-Lo.
She's looking through a scope, by the way.
And the J-Lo is. Mm-hmm. And the daughter looks up at her mom and like pretends to shoot her. And then J-Lo's like, oh.
J-Lo goes, you got me.
You got me. With this horrible song playing.
Yes.
The end.
Yes.
Man, we are at 14 minutes. I have so many notes. First of all, they make Omari's character such a clown. For like, they didn't have to offer J-Lo's daughter anything. Mm-hmm. J-Lo could have left that hospital with her daughter and just been on her own, since she wants to be, she got immunity from being a villain for turning in these people. So it's like, they didn't have to take your daughter. So you making these demands to Omari.
Who's not in charge.
And then this fool, oh my God.
Apparently,
first of all, is taxpayer money paying for him to go visit this girl every birthday to take pictures? And then in Cuba, when they rescue the daughter and she sees Omari, she runs to him like he's a family friend.
Yes, so he's clearly grown close to her. So she was adopted by somebody that lives in the same city he does. And then it doesn't make sense to me. How is he took vacation time to go to Cuba? He's not on assignment with the FBI. It reminded me of Denzel Washington.
And am I paying for this? Like, is taxpayer money paying for this? I need to know.
It reminded me of Denzel Washington in that movie, The Little Things.
Omari's character gets played out so hard. That man gets shot in the titty meat. He gets stabbed in the back.
He does.
He gets hit by a car, and then he gets shot in the back of the head.
Mm-hmm. Now, when he gets stabbed in the back when they're in Cuba and he's trying to clean his wound, and Jennifer Lopez is just in the room like la-di-da, like, could you please help that man who's been now has 2 extra orifices because of you?
Oh my God. Then okay, I'm not talking about the child actor, but I hated the character of that daughter.
Lucy Paez.
I hated that. She was so obnoxious in that tween way that is just like extra. Mm-hmm. When she gets rescued by J-Lo, she's like, who are you? Unhand me. And then J-Lo's like, I'm trying to save you, and dragging her down. And she's being a brat. Then when they get in the car to safety, the daughter's looking at J-Lo because she's in the back seat. And you know how when you're in the back seat, you can see someone's reflection through the side view mirror. That little girl was looking at, you know how like adolescents, because I used to work in a middle school. You know how like 12-year-olds will look at you like they know, like 12-year-olds when I worked in the middle school would stare at me in that way that's like, why do you talk like that? Are you gay? Like, that's how they would talk to me. That's how the girl's looking at J-Lo. And then we see her looking in her phone like how to tell if someone is your bio parent. And then she's like, are you my mom? If J-Lo didn't want this, she has spent 12 years trying to not be involved in this girl's life. They could have simply said, this is Agent J-Lo. She's here to come extract you. Why did they make it weird? Why is J-Lo acting? She was acting so weird.
That's where the soundtrack needed RuPaul's Call Me Mother.
Ugh.
Yes, J-Lo is acting so weird and awkward with the girl. So I guess that's the script trying to like show that the girl's clued off about that. But it doesn't make any sense how this little dum-dum was able to deduce that.
So
I don't get it from that.
And then this writing, like the dialogue, Omari telling, because J-Lo doesn't even know the name of her daughter. And then when she's in the car going to go see her after 12 years, J-Lo asks, like, tell me, it's fine now. And Omari goes, her name's Zoe. Zoe is Greek for life.
In this movie,
we didn't need that.
This movie is not giving me any Zoe.
Okay, that guy who took Zoe, his name is Tarantula. That's his like street name.
Well, he has that tattoo on his neck.
When we see him in the park take the girl, he's running and pushes a kid so hard. And then when we get to Cuba and he's running, like having snorted all the cocaine, he pushes a nun. Yeah, it's like he didn't have to do that.
Those were the most entertaining parts of the movie.
I did not like how this movie was shot. It has this like, every other scene, there's like this effect that's like this blur effect that almost looks like a Snapchat filter. It's like that zoom filter where you can blur out your background. There were so many shots like that. Then we have slow-mo shots that did nothing. The action sequences are not actioning.
Which is, a shot by Ben Seresin, who's a cinematographer in a lot of big budget stuff like World War Z, Godzilla vs. Kong, and that Mummy movie you liked with Tom Cruise.
I did like that movie.
I didn't care for that. And but he also shot a movie we both quite disliked called Chaos Walking, if you remember, with Tom Holland. But that movie we complained...
where their thoughts are like bubble or thought bubbles. And then it's like... John Wick, I do think those movies look amazing.
They do.
And the fight choreo is like, it couldn't be better. So when I'm like, I watched John Wick 4, a month and a half ago? Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's on my mind watching J-Lo trying to punch. She's punching Tarantula and she has like barbed wire around her hand and she's beating him up. And I was expecting when we saw his face that he would look like that lady from Martyrs. No, he has like a little thing here, a little busted lip.
Yeah, it had all his teeth, so thankfully he probably doesn't have dental insurance. But what drove me crazy about that scene too is he's, evading her and mocking her, and then she does something devious, which is basically waterboard him. And then she looks at Omari Hardwick and says, "You learn things in the service." It's like,
yeah, the bubble sting. Like, what are we talking
waterboarding?
About? But even before that, the chase scene is ridiculous because there's a moment where they're like, J-Lo's chasing Tarantula in a vehicle while he's running. And then they're getting close to like a wedding, like a bridal photo shoot. Mm-hmm. and the bride throws her bouquet up in the air. So we see in slow motion the bouquet, and then J-Lo hits Tarantula with her car, and he flies up in the air. So it's shot like we see the...
We're juxtaposing the images, which...
They thought they were giving something that I did not need.
I think that was the only part I really howled.
You liked it.
No, I howled at the scene because it's so ridiculous. But who's going to die and who's going to have
Getting back to the scene where Omar is cleaning his back, he asks J-Lo, why did you save me? And again, this dialogue. This lady tells him, you gave me water. It's like you knew I was thirsty. You took care of me and my daughter.
You seem like a man worth saving.
And all we see him do is pass her like a little cup of water. Uh-huh. Like, what? And she's not kidding. It's not. I don't think it's a euphemism for anything. She's literally saying, "You gave me water."
You could psychologize a character in that way if they have not been confronted with love. But this lady just got out of a relationship with two different men. I don't know that would be her response under such trauma. But who knows?
Ugh.
I don't know.
The one thing I liked about Gael's moment is it made me want to sit in a room full of candles. That seems like it'd be kind of cool.
If they all had the same scent, or...
No, they don't have to be scented, but maybe because I don't really read, so that might be a fun time to read a book with 100 candles. I don't know.
Okay, you could probably finish reading a book by the time it took to light all the candles.
I'm wasting time. Okay. J-Lo lives in the middle of the woods in Alaska, like the abominable snowman.
Huh?
Why does this lady have a full head of vigorous brown extensions and a full face of foundation?
She is always wearing makeup, yes.
Why? This is the same character who's shooting deer and rabbits to eat. We see her making... she lives like a wilderness person.
I really hated how we were supposed to compare her to the Mama Wolf also.
Right, because we keep seeing the Mama Wolf. Why does this character have a full head of extensions? Why? And I know it's just me because I'm a beauty professional and it's just obvious to me. But why does she have this vigorous brown hair? Based on the timeline, she is at least my age, if not older. Where is the gray hair? Why does this lady not have a sensible bob with gray in it to show that she doesn't do anything? Wear it in a ponytail, because the other thing is her hair is down to her zipper. It is long and it's always in the way. How are you hunting? She's constantly shooting, doing stuff with all this hair in the way. Why wouldn't she have hair away from her face? That drove me crazy.
What bothered me more is this continual archetype of the mother, as in this very highly skilled professional woman that sure has made some mistakes, but has thrown everything into... She's going to end her life ostensibly out of trying to protect the identity of this girl that is the most important thing to her all of a sudden, and her life is basically on hold.
Right.
And we don't learn that of any other interests or passions or any kind of other semblance of humanity about this person, except that, as the title tells us, she is the mother, which I also hate that it's the title. Because there's a ton of movies called The Mother.
Yes.
It's you're not on this... I don't know.
Well, I hated the title because we get no... the relationship between the mother and the daughter, there is no development. The character won't even explain to the daughter why they're in this situation. I had to give you up because your father is this horrible man who was going to come after you. They never talk about that. Mm-hmm. So this bratty ass girl is just mad. Oh, I hated it.
Oh, and then when she's with Paul Raci in the store with her daughter, and they're gearing up for Joseph Fiennes coming into town, and she's talking to him in code because nobody can know that they actually know each other.
Why?
Oh my God! And then
don't nobody care, girl.
If you pull on that narrative thread, it's well, if somebody really wanted to find you, and they've waited 12 years, and they found your kid somehow that he thought he probably killed in your womb, that they wouldn't say, she's going to hole up with some connection from her life. Let's look at who served with her on one of her tours and see where those...
It's unbelievable to me that they've been looking for this girl for 12 years, but they couldn't find J-Lo. It just... Because she's not getting help from the FBI.
No.
Okay. When... Oh, I just lost my train of thought.
It's okay. I mean, there's a lot to complain about with this.
I know what I was going to say. J-Lo has this tick where she taps her chest when she's anxious, and then we get a moment where we see her daughter tap her chest.
And J-Lo looks at her like she was watching Jennifer Holliday sing and goes, remember that clip?
Yes, of course. The moment when J-Lo buys the truck, because her and her daughter are sitting at a diner and she sees this pickup truck outside on sale for $2,000 or best offer. And J-Lo has all this money, don't know where it came from. And she pulls out like a stack, slaps it on the bill, because she's assuming that the restaurant is selling the truck.
I don't know how that was clear, but yeah.
And that poor server, because she grabs the bill like, oh.
She goes, ma'am?
Like, oh my God, you gave me like the best tip of my life. And then J-Lo goes, for the truck.
Wrap that truck up for me, will you, hon?
Do you know that my heart would have sunk into my stomach if... that poor lady.
The opening scene, I didn't realize how terrible it would be, of course, at the onset, but how she's making weapons. I'm like, oh, maybe this will be kind of entertaining, at least like Salt. If you remember how Angelina made all those weapons, but it.
We have 3 minutes. The survival montage that amounts to nothing and doesn't really show anything. We have a Grimes song playing. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of music in this movie that is like quality music, but it's just like y'all wasted money paying for these songs.
We're wasting money, which makes me, I don't know if J-Lo was the first choice that this film might have been written for with someone in mind, and I just think she's highly distracting here, and I'm really disappointed because I thought this was a way for her to kind of do something new and different as opposed to all these egregiously terrible rom-coms that she's been churning out.
Okay, I won't have time to get through my notes, but basically I feel like I don't feel like this movie needed to be like stylized, like grindhouse, kind of campy for it to work. I think, why do we have 2 villains who impregnated J-Lo potentially? We never find out who the father is really. And then why did we make her a villain? Because she's a bad person.
Or we could have made her a villain, but if you imagine like...
But didn't care about her.
No, but if you imagine like a Clint Eastwood or a Liam Neeson stepping into this is that same template of those films and how they would handle a child. I don't know. Like... Again, if you had made her, you could make her a villain, but it needs to be more dynamic and three-dimensional.
Her sense of obligation, because of course, to hear like, oh, a mother trying to save her child, of course. But in this instance, it's like, well, her mom's kind of a horrible person, and then she's estranged from the kid. It just seems like you already mentioned, you spent your entire, like the last 12 years coloring your hair, installing extensions, and waiting for the day when you have to go save your daughter.
Basically.
It just seems like you could have just had one bad guy. You could have made J-Lo just a veteran with some sort of training who got mixed up with this horrible person, which is not unlike the movie with, what's the lady? Juicy Smolier's sister is in the movie.
Spiderhead?
No. And that nice older lady who I like. It's a very similar movie to this. She's in the woods.
Oh, yeah. Lou.
What's that lady's name?
Allison Janney.
Yes. You could have pared it down like that, but then it's very similar.
I needed this to be more like La Femme Nikita or its remake, Point of No Return.
Anyway, we have to end the video. What would you give this movie?
1. Oh my God.
I would give it 1 out of 5. Anything else?
No.
Hit the thanks button. Listen to our podcast. Bye.